welcome to another episode of Friend Outdoors.
On today's episode, it's early November, and right now it's all about being in the right place at the right time, and that's near the does. The bucks are chasing every doe that they come across. The does are tired of all the harassment, and are trying to stay hid in thick cover. Now's the time to hunt near thick cover and near bedding areas. Stay alert. A chase can happen at any moment. Today, we're hunting in an elevated blind near a bedding area. Here's what happens. This 8-point was the first buck to show up on this morning's hunt. Looks like we're off to a good start. It wasn't too much longer when this 1.5-year-old buck decided to show up. These two bucks continued to move around the field feeding for about 45 minutes, occasionally checking does as they come into the field. Eventually, these two bucks parted ways and headed out two different roads on the farm. With a few does right in front of my blind, I catch movement out at the edge of the field, and this nicer 3.5-year-old buck shows up and is heading in my direction. As this buck moves in closer, he begins to check these does. A little while after this 3.5-year-old buck passes the blind on the left side, I catch movement out on one of the roads and see this buck as he's making a scrape. As I'm watching this buck in front of the blind, I catch movement coming out the ridge as the 5th buck of the morning makes his way into the field. They're really starting to cruise and check for does. As this buck heads in my direction, he begins to do a lip curl. As this buck gets closer, I notice that he pins his ears back. Maybe a fight's about to break out. After about 5 minutes of waiting, as the one buck chased the other one out of the field, he returned and proceeded to make a scrape. As this buck closes to about 20 yards, he decides to do another lip curl. This young buck was a real bully on the farm, but he's about to change his tune. With several bucks in the area, chases kept breaking out all throughout the morning. As the bigger buck watched the 8-point continue to chase a doe, he decided he better go check things out for himself. It was a very exciting morning with all this activity. I'm just hoping that a bigger buck will show up. Any time that the bigger buck would exit the field looking for a doe, this guy would show back up. Any time a new doe would show up, these bucks were off to check her out. Eventually, all of the deer exited the field. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Man, this was an exciting episode. Again, we're hunting in early November. The bucks were really after the does today. Well, we saw 4 or 5 different bucks throughout the morning. That 7-point buck was a nice buck. I decided to give him a pass, hoping that he would make it another year, feeling like he'd really blow up. He had some decent brow tines. I think he was a 3-year-old buck myself. Again, he was a good buck for my area. I saw this buck a few different times throughout the season, but I decided I was just going to let him go and hope that he made it. But again, they were in there. They were chasing the does. You saw the 1 8-point. I filmed him throughout the season. He was a real bully. It was funny to watch. He would get after the younger bucks and pin his ears back and act like he wanted to fight and push them around. But boy, when that nice 3.5 coming into the field, he didn't want no part of that. He come up there and he pinned his ears back, and the 8-point said nope. And he just tended to stay away from him. And if you notice that 8-point, again, he was a 2.5-year-old buck. He was out there running the does a lot more than the 3.5-year-old. But eventually he ran him enough that it perked the curiosity of the 3.5-year-old. And then he would go check the doe just to make sure he wasn't missing out on something. Again, it was a great hunt. It was an exciting hunt. We hope you enjoyed it. Hey, if you did, please hit that thumb up like button. We really appreciate it. Think about subscribing to our channel. Again, it doesn't cost you anything. It just helps our channel to grow. We really appreciate your time and your comments. Also on this channel, we got a bunch of short videos underneath the short tab. Check those out. Most of them are 15 seconds. We got a lot of different animals on there. Pretty good viewing. We'd also like to thank our military personnel. Thank you for your service. Now for a preview of an upcoming episode on Friend Outdoor Adventures.